Hey Dr. Friend, so here's week one for the video analysis. So basically, looking back on the week, we saw how attitudes can be based on your beliefs and on your values, and how sometimes we have to be aware of our biases during our interactions with patients. So just looking at the Butler method with the clinician and Rudy, we saw how the clinician was very open. He asked very open-ended questions to allow Rudy to be able to fully express how she was feeling and fully express how her pain was feeling too, and where she was having all this pain and what activities the pain was brought on with. So during that, we were able to see how the clinician really allowed Rudy to talk, allowed Rudy to feel a little bit more comfortable, said things that would potentially make Rudy feel more comfortable during the whole process. We saw that during the evaluation when Rudy was like, oh, is this safe? Like, the clinician was like, oh, you're doing great, there's no problem, your back's fine. And then also taking the time to really sit down and talk to Rudy about the pain, neuroscience education, and educate her about how she's in control of her pain and how the pain isn't control of her. With that, the clinician used a lot of good language that heals. So we read that in one of the articles. So we want to use language that is very healing because our words matter. And using that language will only help us build more rapport and allow the patient to buy in. And so I think that we can use that in clinical practice because our words matter, and how we use them to get something across to a patient, or how we explain something, like the way we say it, like even our nonverbals when we do say it. We want to make sure that we're giving the patient not only the correct information, but in words that they'll be able to understand, and also be able to use it to better themselves. So we really want to make sure that we understand that our words matter, and how we want to use patient-friendly language and use terms that are very healing. So, for example, Trey had posted in his post on the discussion board how in the article for the Butler method they used the term unhealthy tissue. And so how he had said how he felt that a more friendly language could have been used. When I first read the article, I actually didn't even pick up on it. Like, I read it, and I guess I just read over top of it and didn't really see how that could be very unfriendly and how it could be harmful towards a patient. But after reading Trey's post and seeing how unhealthy tissue, and actually thinking about it, how unhealthy tissue, that term, could actually make a patient feel like, oh my gosh, my tissue's not okay. So the unhealthy tissue, we could change that to be used in a different way, so that way it's more healing versus more harmful towards the patient, and so that they don't take it wrong. Throughout all this, I really thought back on my past experiences in the clinic, and how I just sometimes I felt like I would baffle with my words, and making sure that I'm getting my point across to the patient, and what they need to hear, but also making sure it's more friendly. And I feel like sometimes I didn't use the most friendly language or the most healing. And so I think that's something we can all strive to work on. And I think that, me personally, that's something I'm going to strive to work on as well. So I actually really enjoyed this week because it made me really reflect on how I can better myself as a future clinician and as a student right now, to use more language that is healing. So, well, thank you, and I will see you again next week. Bye.